Right. I think it's ready. I think we're ready, Maureen. Thank
Okay. Good morning, my brothers and sisters. On behalf of our team of New Pentecost Catholic Ministries, we would like to welcome you to this gathering this month of March. We are delighted to have you with us. People, good morning to those in USA. Good afternoon, those in Europe and Africa. Good day to everyone, and even those who will be connecting in the near future. Our ministry is having this event from our chapel, Holy Spirit Chapel in Monterey, California. And we have members connected from Nicaragua and from Italy and from the US. And we want to share with you a word of encouragement. Whether you are in a storm, you are experiencing trials and tribulations, we would like to be here for you. We are praying for you. We want to encourage you to find peace in the storm. We want to guide you in how to listen to the voice of God. The voices of God is a lovely teaching for us, as we are called not only to listen to the word of God, but to obey it, but to make it ours, and to let our lives be guided by that word. We would like to share with you a word from Psalm 29 about the voice of the Lord. It says, "The voice of the Lord over the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord thunders over vast waters. How powerful is the voice of the Lord! How splendorous is the voice of the Lord!" Many times when we are in trouble, when we are passing through a storm, we may forget to listen, to seek the voice of the Lord. We tend to ask and to beg and to cry and to pray, but maybe we forget to listen to the voice of the Lord. And this morning, the Lord wants to assure every one of you that in the midst of that storm, He is there for you. That to be assured that He is ready to rescue you, ready to protect you, ready to grab your hand, ready to give you peace, as everything that He allows that happen to every one of you, it has a purpose for you. It has a purpose for your life, for your family. So today, in our worship, in our praising, in our teaching, the Lord wants to talk to you. So we invite you to be open to listen to His voice, to listen to what He wants to tell you, to be ready to let Him heal you, to let Him free you, to let Him be at your side and dwell in your heart. And we want to ask you that if you receive a word, if you receive a vision, if you receive a scripture of the Bible, please share it with us. Write it in the chat, and Jennifer and myself will be discerning those words and sharing with everyone. Be assured that we are praying for you, and whatever the Lord gives to any of us is to be shared with others. So we encourage you to share in chat those words that you receive. We have people waiting to listen to the Lord, and we are going to start praising the Lord, worshiping the Lord. We are starting to give him thanks for everything he is, for everything he does for us, for his love. We are blessed to be together, and so let's praise the Lord and worship him with all our hearts, with all our minds. I will invite Sandy to lead us into deep and prophetic worship. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited that you're here today. I'm so happy that you guys have made the decision to come via live Zoom or Facebook, wherever you see us. And if you're probably watching this later on, hello, welcome. We're so glad that you're here today. Thank you, Maureen, for that introduction. My heart is just joyful knowing that you guys have given an opportunity to come. You might not know why or for what reason, but the Lord knows. He knows your every being. He knows you inside out more than we know ourselves about ourselves. And so this morning, we just take the time to just come before him just as we are, with our joys and our sorrows, and maybe we might be having a wonderful day, maybe we're not having a great day, but it doesn't matter, because the Lord takes us the way that we are. He knows your struggles. He knows the things that you are ashamed of. He knows the things that you rejoice in, that make you happy, that make you feel joy throughout the day. He is our Father, and he knows us so well. So take this time, this opportunity to just imagine yourself before Jesus. And if that's hard, that's okay. You might have like a religious image somewhere in front of you, a cross or an image of Christ. Somewhere, if you don't, just try to do your best and picture that. And just see that love that he has for you this day. If it's a cross, know that he did that because he has loved you. He loves you. And if it's an image of Jesus praying or smiling, that's how he sees you in every single moment of your life. With that love, with that understanding. That goes beyond all human love and understanding. He is here. He is where you are at right now. He meets you where you are at right now. If you are down, he goes down there with you too. Behold the one who shows us the way. Behold the one, for if you go lost, he goes and finds you, like that sheep, like that lamb. And if you find yourself in a dark valley, he will go down there to get you and probably stay with you there a little while. Behold the one who comes to show the way, to seek the lost and all who go astray. With all the angels now we sing, our voices are joined as one in praise. Jesus is here. Jesus is here. To show us the Let mercy enter in, salvation for all. Jesus is here. Behold, he comes to testify the truth. Speaks to the dark, speaks to the dark, and makes each life renewed. Out to the world creation sings, announcing the glory of the King. Jesus is here. Jesus is here. Rejoice. Stand up and shout for joy. Light of the world, to show us the way. Open your heart to him. Let mercy enter in, salvation for all. Jesus is here. Behold the one who comes to bring us life, to fill the void and brokenness inside. And by the power of heavenly breath, our hearts of stone are turned to death, to flesh. Jesus is here, rejoice, stand up and shout for joy, light of the world, to show us the way. Open your heart to him. Let mercy enter in, salvation for all. Jesus is here, salvation for all. Jesus is here, salvation for all, salvation for all. Jesus is here. We thank you, Jesus, for being here this morning, for being here this day in our lives. We pray, Lord, that how we find ourselves right now, we want to just empty ourselves before you. I encourage you, brothers and sisters, to just break through whatever obstacle right now you may be facing, whatever difficulty you may be feeling right now, to put it aside for a moment. It might be so strong in your mind right now. Whatever pain or hurt, it's going to be there. But if you just take a moment to just focus on Jesus. Like I said, he knows what you're going through. He knows your pain and he knows your sorrow. He knows exactly where you're at right now. I invite you to focus on Jesus. And know that salvation is for you too. That you might feel like your life may be dead or no purpose. But you know what? He tells you that he has purpose for you. That he has a life full of purpose for you. I encourage you to turn your heart to him. He knows that life is hard. He knows what's been on your mind and on your heart. be a different day if you want it to be. Just give that consent to Him to break through. He can make all that is broken restored. He can make all that is sick, He can make it healed. He can make everything that looks disordered or feel disordered, He can bring order into that area that needs to be in order. Just allow Him. And if it's hard, just pronounce His name. Just say Jesus. Jesus. The more you say His name, something will stir up in your heart. Allow Him to stir up your heart. We turn to you. Hope is stirring. Hope is stirring. Hearts are yearning for you. We long for you. We long for you. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. In your presence. In your presence, all our fears are washed away, are washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna, you are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Hear the sound. Hear the sound of hearts returning to you. We turn to you. We turn to you in your kingdom. In your kingdom, broken lives are made new. You make us new. You make us new. 'Cause when we see you, we find strength to face the day. In your presence. In your presence, all our fears are washed away, are washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna, you are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Say it with me, Hosanna. Hosanna, Hosanna, you are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna, come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. We pray that you may have your way in us. We pray, Lord, that you may have your way in us. By faith, we believe, Lord, that you are in control. Lord, by faith, we surrender. And trust that you have control over every situation in our lives. We have faith right now that our hearts are turning to you, Lord. Even when it's hard to see. That when we see you, Lord, you give us the strength to face the day. That in your presence, you take those fears and you wash them away. That when we seek you, Lord Jesus, that our broken lives are made new. We declare that. I declare that over you right now. We declare that over your household, over your life. Just by pronouncing his name, Jesus, you find strength to face the day. He is your stronghold. Say with me, Jesus, you are my stronghold. You give me strength to face the day. Jesus, you are my stronghold. You give me strength to face the day. Jesus, you are my stronghold. You give me strength to face the day. Because when we see you, we find strength to face the day. Declare it. In your presence, all our fears are washed away. Because when we see you, we find strength to face the day. Say it to him. In your presence, all our fears are washed away. Because in your presence, all our fears are washed away. Are washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. Come have your way among us. We welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna. You are the God who saves us, worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna. here, Lord Jesus. I encourage you right now to just thank him for his presence. We thank you, Jesus, for your continuing presence in our lives, for being with us.
Yes, Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and all praise. Thank you for being with us. In Nehemiah 9 and 10, then Nehemiah, that is the governor, and Ezra the priest scribe, and the Levites who were instructing the people said to all the people, today is a holy to the Lord your God. Do not lament, do not weep. For all the people were weeping as they heard the words of the law. He continued, go, eat rich foods and drink sweet drinks, and allot portions to those who had nothing prepared. For today is holy to our Lord. Do not be saddened by this day, for rejoicing in the Lord is your strength. Yes, rejoice in the Lord, and he is our strength. He is our Redeemer. He is our salvation. He is our deliverer. And one of our participants had a vision. I see Jesus dancing with us, twirling when Sandy was playing the first song. It's very festive. He carries us across the thresholds and says, you are mine. I will walk before you. I will walk behind you. I will walk in front of you. Whatever you need, I am there for you. Reach out to me. My hand is outstretched to you. I love you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Yes, Jesus does love us. He loves us unconditionally, and he is always there for us. He will never leave us. He will never abandon us. He is there in our good times, and he is with us in our bad times. Amen.
We thank you, Lord, for that image of you being with us. We thank you, Lord. You love us so much. Your love goes beyond all measure. We thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for being around us, surrounding us. You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation, now revealed in you are Christ. What a beautiful name it is. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus Christ our King. Yes. What a beautiful name it is, nothing compares to this. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is, what a wonderful name it is, the name of Jesus Christ my King. What a wonderful name it is, nothing compares to this. What a wonderful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is, the name of Jesus. Death could not hold you, the veil tore before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. You are raised alive again. You have no rival, you have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is, what a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus Christ our King. What a powerful name it is, nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is, the name of Jesus. We thank you, Lord, for your name being powerful that it is. We thank you for being a God who is merciful and compassionate, who is patient, who is slow to anger and rich in kindness. We thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord. That you have no rival, that no one can compare to you, that yours is the kingdom, that yours is the glory. We declare that you are the name above all names. You are the name above all names, Jesus. You are the name above all names, that no one can compare to you, Jesus. Oh, we lift up your name, Lord. We lift up our hearts to you. We thank you. Oh, we thank you, Lord. We thank you, Lord. You have no rival, no equal. Forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. You have no rival, the name of Jesus Christ our King. What a powerful name it is. Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, we thank you, Jesus. Oh, our hearts rejoice in your presence, Lord. Oh, we thank you, Jesus. Oh, I encourage you to, if you can sing in the Spirit, to just rejoice in the Lord. Oh, we thank you.
I had an image of the Lord coming in, and he had a big bag with him. And when he opened the bag, it had many packages, and the packages, they had names. In the names, when I open Isaiah 35, it says, everyone will see the Lord's splendor, see his greatness and power. Give strength to the hands that are tired, and to knees that tremble with weakness. Tell everyone who is discouraged, be strong and don't be afraid. God is coming to your rescue, coming to punish your enemies. The blind will be able to see, and the deaf will hear. The lame will leap and dance, and those who cannot speak will shout for joy. Streams of water will flow through the desert. The burning sand will become a lake, and dry land will be filled with springs. Where jackals used to live, marsh grass and reeds will grow. There will be a highway there called the Road of Holiness. No sinner will ever travel that road. No fools will mislead those who follow it. Those whom the Lord has rescued will travel home by the road. They will reach Jerusalem and with gladness, singing and shouting with joy. They will be happy forever, forever, free from sorrow and grief. The word of the Lord. And I was seeing when he was opening those packages, and he was it was like anointings of healing, that he was healing his people and healing the people who had who were blind, and people who couldn't walk, they were able to walk. And he was just like extending his hand to all those people who are in need. But I could see that the people were reaching to him. So brothers and sisters, let's reach to the Lord. Reach to him, because he's here. He's nearby. He's here to heal us. He's here to give us strength. He's here to I could see that people were, when they were approaching him, and they were like sad, but he was giving them a package of joy. People who were despair, they were receiving faith. It's like all kinds of packages according to the needs of his people. So reach out to the Lord. Reach out to him. He's here. He's near. He's for us. Thank you, Lord, for what you're doing for your people.
Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life, Jesus. Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life. Break every stronghold. Break every stronghold. Shine through the darkness. Burn like a fire. Your name is power. Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life. Declare with me. Break every stronghold. Break every stronghold. Shine through the darkness. Burn like a fire. Declare one more time. Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life. Break every stronghold. Break every stronghold. Shine through the darkness. Burn like a fire. I just want to speak the name of Jesus over every heart and every mind. 'Cause I know there is peace within your presence. I speak Jesus. I just want to speak. I just want to speak the name of Jesus over every heart and every mind. 'Cause I know there is peace within your presence. I speak Jesus. Your name is power. Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life. Break every stronghold. Shine through the darkness. Burn like a fire. Your name is power. Your name is power. Your name is healing. Your name is life. Break every stronghold. Break every stronghold. Shine through the darkness. Burn like a fire. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you for this moment. We thank you for what you're doing in our lives. We thank you for what you're going to continue to do praise you, we bless you, Father. We thank you, Jesus. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for being in our midst, for prompting our hearts. We declare that your name is power, that your name is life, that you break through every stronghold, that you burn in our hearts like a fire, the Holy Spirit's fire in our hearts.
Dear Heavenly Father, we declare and proclaim that you are the light. You have the power. You tell us in Mark 4:23-24, there is nothing hidden except to be made visible. Nothing is secret except to come to light. Jesus, you are our light. You make it visible to us, Heavenly Father. Anyone who has ears to hear ought to hear it. He also told them, take care what you hear. The measure of which you measure, the measure with which you measure will be measured out to you, and still more will be given to you. To the one who has, more will be given, and from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Dear Heavenly Father has the power to help us hear. He has the power to open our eyes so that we're not blind, even physically, emotionally, spiritually. And the same for our ears. We declare that our ears are open today, Heavenly Father, that they are open right now to hear the words of encouragement that the Holy Spirit wants us to hear. Open our eyes, open our hearts, open our ears, Heavenly Father, so that we can yield the fruit that you want us to yield. So you can tell us what our purpose in our life is, Heavenly Father, that our sufferings and our burdens are redemptive and that they're for your purpose, for your glory. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I just had an image of when you were talking, Jennifer. That when we pronounce the name of Jesus, even in our household, that ears would open. That when we pronounce his name, ears would pop open, not in a hurtful way, but they would spiritually pop open. I'm gonna go ahead and sing this part before I transition over to Luis. That will be preaching today. That will be teaching us today. This part where it says, Jesus from the mountains, Jesus in the streets, Jesus in the darkness over every enemy, Jesus for my family. I speak the holy name of Jesus. Let's do that as an intercession prayer for our families and for those around us. Jesus in the mountains, Jesus in the streets, Jesus in the darkness over every enemy. Jesus for my family, I speak the holy name of Jesus. Now let's end together. Your name is power, your name is healing, your name is life. Break every stronghold, break every stronghold, shine through the darkness, burn like a fire. Sing it once more with me. Your name is power, your name is healing, your name is life. Break every stronghold, break every stronghold, shine through the darkness, burn like a fire. I'm going to invite my sister Jennifer, if she has a word to share with us before we transition to Luis. The word that you received pre-gathering, and then we transition over to my godfather Ruben, and then into Luis.
I think, Sandy, we're going to do it at the end. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. What a beautiful worship time we had this beautiful morning. I did feel this conviction from the Holy Spirit as we were worshiping that God truly is God's voice is truly in the midst of the storm. You know, the way we have been talking about the voice of God, how he is in the storm, how his voice is over the storm. And as we were worshiping, I just had this conviction in my heart that this is it. You know, the God allows the storm to shaken us, you know, so that we can open our eyes, so that we can open our ears. And then the words that were received, that Jennifer was sharing, that Maria Nunez was sharing, those words were confirming what I was sensing in my spirit. And you know, the storm is not a bad thing. It's a vehicle that God uses. It's a tool that God uses to wake us up. And as I was worshiping with you all right here from my garage, I'm in my garage right now. It's quiet. The kids are inside the house, and I was able to worship in a very deep way. And I just got this conviction from the Lord that he's called all of us to conquer. Yes, we're talking about that we're in the middle of the storm, and we're going to be talking about a simple guide to remain and acquire peace and remain in peace in the middle, in the midst of the most difficult situations. But at the same time, during this worship time, I was sensing that the storm wakes us up. God uses the storm to lead us into a powerful destiny and a powerful future. I sense, you know, I was in my spirit just hearing how many times we have prayed for things to change in our world. You know, we have prayed for our politicians so they are just and they're good leaders for our world. And I just had this conviction, like, well, we are called to raise the next generation of politicians, the next generation of artists, the next generation of people who are involved in all aspects of our society. And, you know, and I just had this big sense of this is what God wants. And somehow I felt that we are a lot of times just lost in the storm. We cannot even handle the storm. And we are just losing track of what God's purpose for our life is. And that is to go beyond the storm. We are called to do great things, and for our children and grandchildren to do great things for the Lord. And I just had this big conviction, you know, that the storm is definitely not a bad thing. It is a beautiful thing. we can encounter the Lord in the storm. And thinking about that, I wanted to begin today by sharing a little bit of my testimony. When I came to the Lord precisely, I imagine similar to most of you, we came to the Lord where we were in the midst of a struggle, and we were in the midst of a storm. We came to the Lord when we were afflicted, when we were in tribulation, when we were in desolation, when we felt abandoned, when we had trouble, when we were lost. That's when we came to the Lord. And the Lord took us and changed our life forever. So we are familiar with this aspect of being in the struggle, being in the storm, being in desolation. That's even how we came to the Lord. That's how we were at some point we were able to open up our life and our heart to receive the Lord. So we know we have already experienced the storm. Probably it was a storm, the one that brought us to the Lord. In my case, it was a storm that brought me to the Lord. And I remember pretty much telling the Lord that I needed to be rescued and that I wanted to know He was real to answer me. And He did. He did change my life. And somehow, because I was coming from a difficult situation where I needed to be rescued, and the Lord did rescue me and touch my life, I somehow began to believe that then now all things were going to be great. Everything was going to be perfect. And as I got involved in ministry, I started doing, the Bible classes and the spiritual growth classes that we had. I started realizing that this was a life of struggle. I had to struggle with the conversion that I was going through because, conversion is not something that just happens from one day to the next. It was a process. And there were these times where I was hearing the word of God, and through prayer, the Lord was putting these new truths in my heart, how I had to live my life. But then my old self was still so ingrained to the old life, wanting to continue doing things that I used to do before knowing the Lord. And those were setbacks. So, for a while, it was a life of struggle, kind of understanding what the Lord wanted from me and somehow still falling back to the old habits. And I think in a lot of aspects in our lives, we're still going through that. We are struggling to become more like Christ, and we still go back and we fail and we have to repent and then, pick ourselves up, allow the Holy Spirit to come and anoint us and just, give us that encouragement so that we can continue to move forward and keep trying. And, that's the spiritual struggle that we have to go through life. But not only was the spiritual struggle personally, but then I started noticing that there were people around me that started mocking that I would go to church, started to try to, embarrass me because I wanted to read my Bible. People at work, people at school, even people at home will ridicule you because you wanted to do good things, to change your life for the Lord. I remember my mom would always, before I had my encounter with the Lord, my mom would actually say, "Why are you arriving late? Don't go party. Arrive at home at a certain time and be here." And once I met the Lord, she would continue to complain that I would spend too much time in church and not at home, even though I would not arrive as late or do things that I was doing before. And it's just interesting it was interesting to me to see how there was so much pressure around me because I was trying to be a better Christian. I remember my dad saying, "Well, going to mass on the weekend, that's the normal thing to do. But you're not a priest, you're not seminarian. You don't have to be going to church every single day." And there was all these, voices that would try to pull me away from the call that I was receiving. And not only that, but then even within the church, I remember I was part of the prayer group, and or pastor or the priest or pastor was not very, he did not like the type of prayer we used to do, the charismatic renewal. So he would try to put the group down to try to keep trouble for us to be able to do activities or meetings. And it's all of a sudden I realized that there was all this pressure around the Christian life, and that pretty much my problems were not solved. If any, they become greater, because now I was aware that I was not supposed to live a life in the world, but that I was called to live a life in Christ and to live for Christ. And then I realized that there was pressure from all fronts, at home, at work, at school, and even within the church, within the pastors even. So I got to a point where I remember I'd be driving, right, and then somebody will cut me in front of me, or will flip me, do something bad, and instead of, because I was now a Christian, I was trying to be a better Christian, I would not just answer back with another obscene signal or with a bad word. I would actually say, I hope you meet the Lord. And that's just, to me, just silly when I think about it now, because it was such the struggle that I was going in my life to become a better Christian, and I understood how difficult it was and how frustrating it was at times, that I would kind of bless someone that did wrong to me, but I would bless them in a way because I wanted to do harm to them, because I wanted them to suffer what I was going through by becoming a Christian. I don't know if you follow. It's just like ironic to me now, but it is hard and it is difficult. So it is being in the storm is part of a Christian life. It is, even I think it's now, after we had this beautiful worship moment, I had this conviction that it's like part of our walk as Christians. And I'm gonna share the screen from last time so that we can go over the different principles and points that we talked about last time. And that they're part of the teaching, so you can take notes, and I would not be going all over the place, but be more organized as I'm sharing. I think I need to be able to share screen. I don't know if I'm allowed. Am I allowed? Okay, I think I am. All right. Let me go in here, see if I can. Please let me know if you don't see the PowerPoint. So guys, in the storm, we were talking about last time that, God is in the storm. The storm is the struggle that makes us. Can you see it?
Go ahead and undo that. Undo it because we can't see it.
Oh, no? Okay. Should I do it again?
Try the way you had it before.
Like that?
No,
It says exit full screen.
not yet.
Let me step it. Do you see it?
We see you.
You see me.
Go ahead and
Now,
go,
do you see the PowerPoint?
leave it like that. That's
Huh?
fine. Leave it like that. That's good.
Oh, good. So if I make it full screen or slideshow, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
This is good.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you, Sandy. Okay. So last time, I'm not going to very quickly about this over these points because some of you were not here, and I want you to be aware of everything, more or less what we talk about. So Father Peter taught us that when we're in desolation, when we're in a trial, when we are in the midst of the storm, we should not be asking why me. I'd rather be asking for what purpose. Well, Lord, what is the purpose for this trial that I'm going through? That is the right way to approach the storm. And the storm is the struggle that makes us stronger. And you can read Romans 5:3-5. The storm is the struggle that tests our character. And I love this verse from James 1, for James 1:2-4. It says, "Consider all joy, my brothers, when you encounter various trials, for you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And let perseverance be perfect, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." So see, the struggle will develop our character, will make us stronger. Not only that, but it will develop the character of Christ in us, so that we are more like Christ. All right? And then the struggle prepares us for what is to come. And I share the story of Joseph. You know, Joseph, his brothers sold them, and he had to endure so many difficulties. But eventually there was a plan behind all of that. He was able to be the provider of sustenance for his family when a great famine came over the world. And without Joseph and everything that he went through, that eventually led him to be the leader in Egypt, the people of Israel, that family that God chose to be our parents in the faith, would have perished. So you know, the struggle leads to something, even when we do not understand it. And if we just understand that as well, we can keep our faith and our hope alive in the Lord. And then the struggle humbles us so that we can be more receptive to God's perfect will for us and for our families. Without the struggle that we have to go, we might end up believing that we are capable, that we are enough. And whoever feels that they're capable and that they're enough just on themselves, they will be close to God's grace. They will not be able to experience God's power. So the struggle keeps us humble. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us grounded so that we may be always dependent on the Lord. That's why we call him Lord, because we belong to him. And without him, there's nothing we can do. So we need him. And so all that to say that God is in the storm, okay? And this is a beautiful passage. We have been making reference to this passage a lot. And it's this passage when Jesus is on the boat with the disciples and a huge storm breaks open and they are frightened. They think they're gonna die, and Jesus is just sleeping on the boat. And it's not until they wake him up, and then he commands the storm to stop, and the storm stops. So we'll be making a lot of reference to this passage, and it's just beautiful to see that the Lord allows the storm to happen, and there's always a reason for it. So that's where we are. And then by the end of last month's teaching, we were talking about the difference between the believer and the unbeliever. And this is just very interesting. I don't know if you have ever meditated upon it. To me, it was a huge revelation when I was praying and, trying to hear the Lord for what we were supposed to teach during the gathering. And to me, it just struck me like it was like a big revelation for me. See, the believer and the unbeliever, we pretty much want the same thing. The believer and the unbeliever, we want happiness. We want a good life. We want a family. We want goodness and health for our families and prosperity for our families. We want to enjoy life. We want to accomplish things, accomplish goals and or dreams. And, we, the believer and the unbeliever, we have all those aspects. We share those goals and ideas and desires. Even I remember before I had my encounter with the Lord, pretty much I wanted the same things, just in a different way, of course. But at the end, it's in principle is we want the same things. Both the believer and the unbeliever desire a life of happiness, wellness, wholeness, strive for success in all things we do. We want good life, goodness for our offspring, for our children and grandchildren. So what makes us different? So for us, there is one God, the Father, from whom all things are, and for whom we exist, and one Lord, Jesus Christ, through whom all things are, and through whom we exist. That's the word of God from 1 Corinthians 8:6. The difference is that we have come to know that we have a Lord, that we have a Father, that we have a Savior, that we have a Redeemer, that we have the Holy Spirit that is the one who moves us and leads us. That is our strength. That is the difference. That we are called to mold our life in the image of Christ. That we're not to just live our life randomly, but that we are to live our life for the Lord. All right? And the unbeliever, pretty much, oh, and this is beautiful. I was preparing the teaching. I was struggling to how to make this comparison, and I was asking the Lord. And yesterday we were in prayer with my sister Maureen, from NPCM. She's the one who gave the welcome in today, and she received this word from Wisdom, the book of Wisdom, chapter 2, and it is just amazing how descriptive it is, and it pretty much describes what the experience of the unbeliever is compared to the experience of the believer. And I just want to share very quickly with you, but in order to do it a little faster, I want to ask somebody at the chapel, maybe Lisbeth, can you read it in English? Because my English is not that good, and I think you're going to be able to be more clear so that people can understand it better. So if Lisbeth can help me read chapter 2 of the book of Wisdom from verse 1 to verse 5. And as we read it, please pay attention. Please pay close attention to what the scripture is saying. Do we have somebody at the Spirit Chapel? Holy Spirit Chapel? Or
Yes.
should I just do it? Okay, thank you.
Yes, you said Wisdom chapter 2, 1 through
5.
5. Okay, thank you. Wicked people are wrong when they say to themselves, our life is short and full of sorrow, and when its end comes, there is no escape. No one has ever been known to come back from the world of the dead. We were born by chance, and after life is over, we will be as if we had never been born at all. Our breath is no more than a puff of smoke. Our mind is nothing more than a spark thrown off by the beating of our heart. When that spark dies, our body will crumble into ashes, and our breath will become part of the empty air. In time, no one will remember anything we ever did, and even our names will be forgotten. Our lives will pass away like the traces of clouds and vanish like fog in the heat of the sun. Our time on earth is like a passing shadow. There is no escape from the day of our death. It is fixed, and no one can postpone it. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. How sad it is for the unbeliever to live this life. Their existence is random, and after this life, there's nothing else. It's like we're just a moment, and then we're nothing. And I was just thinking, as I read, I was just thinking, or I guess the Lord put in my heart, it made me remember a lot of the lives of saints. You know, their testimony remains. Their lives have impacted thousands and hundreds of thousands of lives around history. They're still alive. They're still moving. and they're still being witnesses of the Lord to all of us, even in different times and periods of history. So we are very different from the unbeliever. Let's continue from 6 to 9, because the unbeliever believes it's just a moment. The life is just a moment. Then they go with this idea of enjoy what this world offers, especially during the young years of life. Let's hear what Wisdom 2, 6 to 9 says.
The wicked say, "Come on, then let's enjoy the good things of life and live in this world the way we did when we were young and free of care. Let's drink the most expensive wines and use the finest perfumes. Let's not miss a single flower in the springtime. Before the roses wither, let's pick them and wear them on our hair. Let's all join and leave signs everywhere of our carefree revelry. Life owes us that much." Till 9 or till?
To 9, namas to 9. Yeah, thank you. So, because life is just a moment, then we should just enjoy it in a selfish way. Absorb all luxury, absorb everything that we can with our youth and with our strength, and just enjoy it, with a spirit of selfishness. And it's pretty much, do what your flesh asks for of you. So, that's what explains all this immorality and all these different sinful behavior that the unbeliever tends to be more prone than somebody who's trying to live a life of grace. And then finally, Wisdom 2, 10 to 16, it shows us how the life of a person who is an unbeliever becomes very prone to, number one, abuse power, and number two, becomes even enemy of those who follow the Lord, who practice the faith. Can you read it one more time? Well, not one more time, but this passage from 10 to 16. Elizabeth?
Yes. We'll oppress the poor, even if they are righteous. We'll show no respect for widows or old people. We'll call ourselves right if we are strong enough to get what we want. No one ever got anywhere by being weak. Righteous people are nothing but a nuance. So let's look for chances to get rid of them. They are against what we do. They accuse us of breaking the law of Moses and violating the traditions of our ancestors. They claim to know God, and they call themselves the Lord's children. We can't stand the sight of people like that. What they are contradicts of our way of thinking. They're not like other people. They have strange ways. They think that our moral standards are so corrupt that everything we do should be avoided. They boast of having God for their father, and they believe that when all is said and done, only the righteous will be happy. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Thank you, Elizabeth, for reading. As you can see, those readings are like in more complicated English. I actually read them in Spanish to understand them better and be able to study it before sharing it with you, but we had to read them in English. And as you can see, this the unbeliever way leads eventually to abuse of power. It leads to they become enemies of faith. They become enemies of goodness and reason. They become enemies of truth. And the basic trait that they have is pride and cynicism, right? So it's something that happens when you have this crazy idea that life is just a moment, that we should just enjoy what we have while we have it, and that if you want it, you should grab it and take it. All these philosophies are out there in the world. We had them ourselves. That's the old way of thinking that the Lord asks us to renounce and to surrender to Him, so that then He can put His thoughts in our minds and His feelings in our hearts. So we have experienced this. We have been part of this group at some point in life, and sometimes in some aspects, in some areas in our life, we still are kind of more like the unbeliever than the believer. But that's why we are here, to continue developing our characters and our hearts, so that it becomes more like Christ. So the believer, in contrast, is called by God, and there's nothing random about his life. For the believer, there is a purpose, a destiny, and a mission. See that big difference? The unbeliever is just all random. We make our own destiny. There's a lot of sayings that we say out there in our culture. We make our own destiny. We make our own fortune, right? We got to enjoy life. We got to seize up the moment. The survival of the fetus. There's so many sayings that are just so worldly, and the unbeliever really takes those sayings and those philosophies as their philosophy of life, and it drives them farther and farther away from God. But for us, the believer, or when they become a believer, when we became believers, we right away knew that there was a purpose for our life, and that we have a destiny in the Lord, and that we have a mission to perform. In Jeremiah 1:5, it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I dedicated you, a prophet to the nations. I appointed you." And the Lord tells all of us that before we were in our mother's womb, He already knew us. And He had a purpose for each one of us. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in Christ with every spiritual blessing in the heavens, as He chose us in Him before the foundations of the world to be holy and without blemish before Him. In love, He destined us for adoption to Himself through Jesus Christ, in accord with the favor of His will, for the praise of the glory of His grace, and He granted us in the Beloved. Ephesians 1:3-6. So before He created us, He loved us and He knew us. And we were planned since before the foundation of the world. That's so much love that God has for each one of us, that He planned each one of us from before the foundation of the world. So they're just amazing, what the Lord has for each one of us and what He tells us. So there's a destiny, and there's a purpose, and there's a mission. And I'm gonna go with the mission first. What is our mission? Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always until the end of age. The word of the Lord. And then it's, we know that all things work for the good for those who love God, who are called in accordance to His purpose. For those He foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the image of His Son, so that He might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those He predestined, He also called. And those He called, He also justified. And those He justified, He also glorified. The word of the Lord. So, see, we have a clear purpose, we have a clear destiny, and we have a clear mission. And as we were worshiping, I was just thinking about all these things that I'm talking to you, all these aspects in this teaching. And I had this conviction, yes, we are called to do the work of the Lord on this earth. But I had this very strong conviction that we are called to do it all in different ways, right? Not everybody's going to be a preacher. Not everybody is going to be, a pastor, a priest, a deacon. But each one of us is called in different areas of work, of different professions, different callings for our lives. Most of us are parents. What more beautiful mission do we have but to be parents to the children of the Lord? When I read the Bible, the Old Testament, I read about the people of God being taken from Egypt to freedom, to a new land. And I believe the Lord has given us all new land. Maybe not land, but He has given us our children, their destinies, their future. All that is important. And I maybe that's huge for me because I have 10 kids. But they are the land that we have to conquer for the Lord. We have to conquer their hearts for the Lord. We have to conquer their minds for the Lord, so that they will follow the Lord, so that one day they will say that they follow the God that my dad followed, and I feel that that's very, very, very important. For most of us, we are parents, we have a huge mission with our children. They are the land that God has put in our hands, so that we lead them to the Lord, so that they can be a second generation Christian, third generation Christian. We cannot let them be lost. So if you're a parent, you have a destiny, and a mission, a duty to perform in your children and your grandchildren. Okay, let me just go back here. The believer has a higher calling, and it's a challenge. It's very challenging because we are called not just to live different to the unbeliever, but we are now the ones who are pretty much the face of God. When they see us, they see the Lord. And if we give a good testimony, we're bringing glory and honor to God. And when we don't, then we're just lacking, and we have to keep working hard. Let's see what Philippians 1:27-30 says. Only conduct yourself in a way worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come to see you or am absent, I may hear news of you, that you are standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, struggling together for the faith of the gospel, not intimidated in any way by your opponents. This is proof for them of destruction, but of your salvation. And this is God's doing. For to you has been granted, for the sake of Christ, not only to believe in Him, but also to suffer for Him. Yours is the same struggle as you saw in me, and now hear about me. The Word of God. See, as we walk in this life, in our Christian life, we are now entering in a area where our suffering, our struggle, and being in the storm is not only anymore about just us. This is a deeper dimension. It's a dimension where we have to suffer and endure the struggle for the sake of the gospel, for the sake of other souls that need to hear the gospel. Just like you and me, we were in the group of the unbelievers, and we were so cynic about everything, and we did not care when people invited us to know the Lord, to change our hearts. We are now called to be prophets, to be those who will lead others to Christ. So that comes with a price, that's a struggle that we have to endure. And that's a calling that we have. That's another aspect. And that is where this conflict begins. So the unbeliever eventually becomes an enemy of that believer and of the Lord. But that believer becomes an instrument of God to reach those who are enemies of the gospel. And we are supposed to do it with love. And we're supposed to do it enduring the pain and the tribulation that we need to endure in the name of the Lord, in the name of the gospel. And for that, I love this passage in Matthew chapter 5, verse 43-48. And that's another big difference between the unbeliever and believer. And that's something that we're called to do. So Matthew 5, verse 43-48. Just going to read very quickly here. You have heard that it was said, you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father, for he makes his sun rise on the bad and the good, and causes rain to fall on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what recompense will you have? Do not the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brother only, what is unusual about that? Do not the pagans do the same? So be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect. The word of the Lord. So the Lord calls us to totally be different to the unbeliever. And even in this aspect that is more profound, we're called to be holy, just as our Father is holy in heaven. We are called to even endure the struggle, even when it is for the sake of those who hate us and persecute us, for those who openly are enemies of the faith and confess themselves to be enemies of you, the believer. So that is our calling. That is our purpose. That is our mission. So now that we know all this, then how can we proceed through this life in remaining strong in the Lord and with his peace in our hearts? So these are just some ideas. I think this has to be developed even more, because the more I meditate on it, the more I pray about it, and I hear more things from the Holy Spirit of what we can do on this, how to develop this guide to find peace in the midst of the most difficult situations. Even just right now, today, when we were worshiping, I added this last one right here in the bottom. Well, not the first part, where it says, remember your previous victories. No, that was already there. The one that I added was ask the Holy Spirit to be in our lives. I sensed that we were praying today in worship. So just a basic guideline, very quickly. We're going to go very quickly over this, I hope. Please bear with me. So all this talk about the storm, I want to share why I sense that we had to do this. And we have already done this is the second part on this topic. And the image that I sense from the Lord in my imagination, I guess, to be able to understand why was this important is, when fighter fighters are training, they train often. They are cleaning their hoses and they do a lot of what do you call them? ¿Cómo se llama cuando entrenan? Like they have a training session. So when they're having their training sessions, they sometimes even put up a building on fire, and then they go and they practice getting in and out, and they practice suiting up, and then they try to do these simulations And they do it often to train their bodies, their minds to be ready for when they need it. So learning about the storm, learning about the struggles of the Christian life, learning about the difference between a believer and unbeliever, I feel that it's like training for when we are in the middle of the storm. Perhaps you are right now going through a tribulation, going through a storm in your life. So what we are talking about is very fresh, and you can utilize it right away and start practicing it and bring it to prayer. But if you are not in a tribulation right now, if you're in one of those moments where life is fine, you can still meditate and read the scriptures and go over all these different points that we have mentioned these 2 months, so that you are ready for when a tribulation knocks at your door. So when you're ready, when you're in the middle of the storm, the firefighters train under pressure so that when they're actually in a real situation, they just follow protocol. They don't have to be thinking too much about it. They just follow the protocol. They just follow protocol, and they do what their training teaches them to do, and they do it, and that's what brings them to safety. Because if they let fear come in and they start overthinking things, they might actually end up making mistakes that can cost their lives or somebody else's life. So that same happens to our in the spiritual life. These principles can be meditated, they can be learned, they can be practiced, so that they become second nature to us. So for when we are in a situation where we're in the middle of the storm, when we're on the boat and the storm is raining all over us and the Lord seems to be asleep, you can follow these easy steps. So number 1 is give thanks to the Lord always. And you guys can write the readings. We're not going to go over them because it's time to finish. I'm already going over. So give thanks to the Lord always, always. That's why we do an NPCM always begin with worship and adoration. And the simplest way to start praising and worshiping the Lord is by thanking Him. Number 2 is rejoice in the Lord. And that's what we do always through worship, because our worship does not depend on how we feel and what's going on in our lives. Our worship depends on God, who He is, what He has done, His essence. So because who He is and what He's done, He deserves our worship. So we always rejoice in that, and that's how we practice is to worship. And then we go deeper in the Word of God. We gotta study the Word of God. That's what we're doing right now. We're getting ready for when the storm comes. Matthew 4, chapter 4, verse 1 to 11, it tells us that when Jesus went to the desert and how He was tempted by the devil 3 times. And the 3 times He answered with the Word of God. That's what we need to do. That's why we need to be strong in the Word of God. That's why we need to not just know it, but we need to be living it. And we have to study it, and we have to let the Word of God penetrate on the deepest parts in our soul and our hearts. And then we need to trust the Lord. We need to learn to trust Him. And one way to do that for me, I bring to memory the previous struggles that I had, the previous times that I was in a storm. I remember how it felt. Sometimes it's like you can even smell it. It smells like it smelled the last time when I was in tribulation. And then you remember how the Lord was faithful and He was able to carry you through, and how He manifested His love and mercy during those moments. That's the last part. Remember your previous victories and remain in faithful expectation from the Lord. One principle that is very, very important from St. John of the Cross is that whenever you're in desolation, do not make decisions. Just remain in what you know, remain in the Lord. Do not make any sudden decisions, not big, not small, when you are in desolation. You know you're in desolation, just trust in the Lord, remain in prayer, remain moving forward. And finally, I wanted to add Luke 11:9. And that's something that I remember Father Peter taught this in my parish in Castroville, California. He used to go and like once a month, and he will celebrate Sunday night Mass. And this is the passage where it says, Well, let's just read it. I know I'm only going a little bit, but this is the last one. I promise. I promise. Let's go to Luke chapter 11, 9, 13. And I tell you, ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock at the door and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks the door will be open. What father among you would hand his son a snake when he asks for a fish, or hand him a scorpion when he asks for an egg? If you then, who are wicked, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will the Father in heaven give the Holy Spirit to those who ask him? The word of the Lord. I remember Father Peter teaching about that, and it remained in my spirit. Sometimes when we're in the storm, we ask and we plead and we cry to the Lord, and we want a certain outcome. But the Lord sometimes does not give us what we're asking because there's a purpose for that. But he always, and I remember Father Peter said that, he always answers the prayer. He gives us his Holy Spirit. He will always answer your prayer. He will always give you the Holy Spirit. So see, in the middle of the storm, you will receive the Holy Spirit. You will receive the grace of God. In the middle of the storm, you will hear his voice. In the middle of the storm, he will be there with you because he is a good father. So thank you very much. Sorry I went over. God bless you all. We'll go back to the Holy Spirit Chapel with Lucia. Hi, Lucia. How you doing?
Hi, Luis. We're doing great. We're having a great time here. Just enjoying your testimony and also enjoying this talk you gave us on that God is in the storm. Thank you so much for that testimony and for that talk. And I just want to continue on just to invite all of the participants and also all of the NPCM members to continue just reflecting, over our own stories, over our own encounter with Christ, over our own encounter with that love that changes everything. And even though we continue in the storm, in those moments of desolation and consolation, just want to declare that as believers, we know that there is hope and freedom in Jesus's name. Just like our sister Sandy led us in praise and worship today, that and always remember to take those moments in our prayer to tell Jesus that we love him and how much we love him throughout all the gathering. That was just in my heart. Jesus, I love you. And I invite you guys to do the same in your prayer. Thank you, Lord. I need this and I love you. We just want to invite you to join us to the next gathering, which is April 20th. And go ahead and invite somebody else that you believe may benefit from gathering with us, from praising and worshiping, and also from just receiving the word of the Lord and gathering with the Lord and encountering with us. Thank you for being with us, and may the spirit of peace be with you and your families. Bye-bye.
Amen. And we'll just end it with a quick, well, not so quick, but at the same time, just a declaration of praise that he is the name above all names. Amen. Amen. Name above all names, worthy of all praise. My heart will sing how great is our God. Say it with me. Name above all names, worthy of all praise. My heart will sing how great is our God. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, we'll see how great how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. Oh, we'll sing how great is our God. Amen. We will see you next month, God willing. If you know anybody in Spanish that likes, was bilingual, we also have El Encuentro next weekend on Saturday at the same time. Well, God bless everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bless you.